Hey, fairy grasshoppers, nice to see you. Today is a vlog. It's a beautiful sunny day. It's right around some really potent energetic times here in the summer of 2021. We're near solstice. The solstice is also Father's Day, and we've also got a full moon the same week and an ending of the Mercury retrograde the same week. And so lots of energy happening. And for me, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about imprints and about how people grieve differently. So two things today. Imprints, energetic imprints. What does that mean from my perspective, which is just one way to look at things. Just a place to start. And also how people grieve differently. So imprints. So today I'm feeling energy that is a little bit of an echo. Almost not a deja vu, but an echo. So it's like a vibration of an event or experience that occurred. Could be a significant date. Could be a significant place or location outside, like geographic, or inside in a part of a house or at a place like a hospital or a famous place, etc., where the energy seems like it echoes from the past, from a previous shared or collective group experience. Sometimes it's a trauma or tragic event, and other times it's something like monumental, historic, or celebratory. Something really positive and hopeful. In my experience, it's attracted more to the energy of deeply held, major life-changing experiences that really shake you and really leave an impact and have a lot of emotion around it. And usually it's not like super high, happy emotions. It's usually more involved layers of emotions like sadness and grief and fear and anger, and that kind of a combination is really intensive. And so it kind of creates almost this echo vibrationally. And so you can feel that even if you weren't part of the experience, or it's not part of your lineage, it's not part of your ancestry, if you're not specifically intuitive or in tune, any empath would be able to feel a disruption or some kind of strange feeling moving through that area, whether you're driving or walking or visiting a place, that kind of a thing. So that is how I would describe an imprint. Oftentimes it's associated with paranormal, the paranormal, studies of the paranormal, but it's also associated with the understanding of energy, the study of energy and the metaphysics of energy, and how time is layered and not linear. So it's not like a calendar, it's like a sandwich. And it's hard to kind of wrap your brain around that, but if you just think about it like this, like different levels, instead of years being like this, they're like this, then it would make sense that things would vibrate, kind of move up and down and that kind of a thing. And you'd be able to maybe experience some of the energy kind of waves or disruption a little bit. Again, it's not like scary or freaky energy or intense energy, like if you were to enter a particularly a place with a lot of paranormal activity. That's not necessarily what I'm talking about when I talk about imprints. And the reason why I'm talking about this is because for me, this is a time that I can tap into an imprint that I've had, an experience that I've had, which was back in 2002. Oops. Ooh, sorry, that was a bee. That was a really big bee. Ooh, big bee. Sorry, I didn't want to hurt the bee, but I didn't want to get stung. Yeah, bees, divine feminine. Hello. Okay, I get it. Back in 2002, though, I had experience with a very defining time in my life when my dad was sick. He was diagnosed right around Father's Day weekend in 2002 with AIDS. And it was only a couple of weeks later that he ended up in the hospital after he collapsed at work. And he never came home, and he died on August 1st. So it was about 6 to 8 weeks, 7 weeks, and from the diagnosis to his death. And so Father's Day has a weird kind of a resonance with me, and maybe also because of other life experiences that I've had that might be connected to Father's Day, like my children. So I have 4 kids, and 3 of them have the same dad with my first husband, and then 1 of them I have with my husband. And so it could be that too, like a little bit connected to how my older kids are really into Father's Day with their dad. And I'm like, okay, like that's not part of my life necessarily, And so I don't know, maybe it's that, maybe it's connected to my divorce a little bit. Maybe it's that too, being co-parents, and when my kids were really little, is when I got divorced and stuff. So I don't know, maybe it's that too, but it's also like right now, my daughter's home, my oldest daughter is home, and I'm taking care of her during her recovery from getting her wisdom teeth pulled. She's on day 2 right now. Well, it's been 48 hours, a little over 48 hours. And so we're like, she has like multiple medicines, which, have you had your wisdom teeth pulled or your kids? Like, I had mine pulled when I was like in my 30s sometimes. So it was like 15 plus years ago. And I didn't have like multiple medications. I mean, I had like an antibiotic, I think, and some pain medication. That's it, kind of thing. Maybe a mouth rinse. She's got like 5 different medicines, anti-swelling stuff, antibiotics, pain medication, 2 different kinds of pain medication, all sorts of stuff. So it's like a lot to kind of keep track of and make sure that they got something in their tummy so they don't get sick, because I'm really sensitive to stuff. And so I just thought, hey, I'm going to help manage this for you so that you don't get sick and so you don't have challenges. There goes that bee again. Just came flying right through here. Whoa, here it comes. It's like not happy with me, I think. Maybe not. It probably doesn't even notice me hardly. It's like, oh, you're in my way. Excuse me. Woo, it's a big one. All right. Totem animals, bees, right? It's warm today, but it's not that hot. It's actually a gorgeous day, like perfect for walking. I think we're going to go walking, my husband and I, because he doesn't like to go walking unless it's not super duper hot. And I love the sun, but I agree right now. I'm tired, you guys. Probably because I'm taking care of my kid too, right? My oldest kid. And I don't mind it. It's kind of nice having her home, and because she lives out of the house now, and it's nice having her home. But also I have been up in the middle of the night helping her because the pain is worse at night. And so I've been making sure that she stays on her medication, the anti-swelling stuff and all that, to stay ahead of everything so that we can get her as healthy as possible so that she can go home when she wants to, you know. And so that's happening, while at the same time also, now this is where the grief piece comes in, how people grieve differently. This is where this comes in, okay? So on top of all this, my husband is working with his siblings right now because his mother is in hospice care and she's nearing the end of her life. And so they have to make arrangements and do all this stuff, and, you know, people are visiting and it's this whole thing. And everyone experiences this differently, I think, wants to say goodbye in their own ways and wants to, or needs something to kind of feel complete, you know, but everybody needs different things. So, and then emotions are high, and it's interesting because she has 3 boys. She has 3 sons that are grown adult children. She's lived a full life, strong woman, had great experiences, happy with her kids, her family, her husband preceded her in death. And so she's ready, you know, she's lived a full life. And so, but it's stressful because even though this is like as expected, there's all these things that have to be taken care of. And so my husband's working with his siblings and such to manage that. But then there's always the extras, the outlying things, like extended family and people who grieve differently, who think that sometimes I think we forget, you know, especially if we're in emotional states, how people do need different things during grief. And some people just need privacy and their own time and their own space. And that's kind of how my husband is and his siblings are. And so I'm trying to just respect the space. I'm not getting all up in his business. I don't have anything to say about any arrangements or anything. Like, that's their choice. I'm just a spouse, you know, it's not my mother. They get to decide those things, and I'm like, hey, I'll back you up, you know. But there's some stressors, of course, with the outlying other people, other relatives, distant relatives and things who have experienced their own losses, you know, and so really want to be there, you know, and yet at the same time, like my husband and stuff and his siblings are like, yeah, we don't need you to be in our space right now. Right now, we need to do this ourselves the way we want to, which means it's not about you. But you see, people grieve differently, so it is about them. Everybody experiences grief differently because they might be using this experience through their aunt, their great aunt, their I don't even know if they're like second cousins or what it is, but there's a lot of people in the family and such. So, which makes really like family picnics and stuff a lot of fun, just so you know. And they mean well too. They're very caring, but they're very different in the way that they operate in their little family units. And so these three siblings, they need to be able to do things their way. And I think that's what's happening is that other people are utilizing this particular transition to kind of piggyback their own grief on and trying to almost make up for their own grief, another layer of their own grief to process. And so they're like really trying to be there and be all in, you know, their business, but they're not like dominating or trying to control or anything like that at all. They're just grieving differently, you know? And I'm like, just step back. Just step back, just step back. So that's creating stress. So on top of trying to manage arrangements and things and let my husband and his siblings deal with their own grief, I also feel there's this anger. There's a bit of this like, leave us alone, like step back. This isn't your mother. You know, you need to just mind your own business and stuff, especially people who kind of project project in very different belief systems maybe, or intense or strong belief systems into the mix, you know? It's like, I'm like, you guys, after we die, it's going to be fine. Trust me. We can all hang out and talk about all of this and you'll understand. So, but at the same time, just because I'm a psychic and a medium, because I am psychic and I am able to communicate, doesn't mean I am. And it's not my business. So I'm not like interjecting or telling my husband anything or being like, okay, now she's doing this. Okay, this is what's happening. I don't. Like if something like that were to happen, I had a visitation with my mother-in-law from the afterlife, yeah, I'd share it with my husband, but I'm not going digging in that. This is not my deal. You know, it's like, let them grieve the way they need to grieve. And just because this is a similar timeline or a little bit of a sandwich to maybe one of the imprints that I've experienced with my dad when we found out that weekend of Father's Day, which is very soon here. Father's Day and solstice is the same day this year in 2021. It's so weird to me that that's the case. I'm like, wow, this is definitely pivotal. There's definitely opportunity to clear, shift, and release. So I'm going to make it my own business to focus on my own business. So I hope his extended family can do that. If not, I think it's just a situation where, I mean, like I told my husband, I said, if you need, you know, I said, hey, I can tell somebody what the deal is if you need me to tell somebody what the deal is, because I will. But I said, you know, they just are grieving differently. It's just they mean well. And he says, I know they mean well, but they just need to step back because we can't deal with this right now. It's hard enough as it is, even though it's as expected. It's hard enough as it is. Like, give people breathing room, man. You know, get your own perspective. Don't use somebody else's tragedy to try to heal your own. You really have to have some self-awareness here. And I'm doing that with myself too, which isn't easy. It's not easy. I got to work through some over-giving issues I have and value stuff and, you know, people-pleasing stuff myself. So I don't feel that anger about, well, what do you mean? You know, kind of a thing. Like I don't have to be all up in arms about stuff or defensive about anything, no matter what it is, because of my over-giving problems and my people-pleasing issues. You know, you might be shocked at that because it might seem like I might sound like I would tell somebody off or whatever. Yeah, it's easier to do that for somebody else. But if I don't address the underlying issue myself within me, so it doesn't even bother me, it's not a trigger, that's the key. Like that's the success, is when it doesn't bother you. That's how you know you've made progress. So that's the ultimate goal, my friends. So, all right, so that's it for my vlog for today. So we talked about imprints. We talked a little bit about kind of what that means energetically, and then also a little bit about how people grieve differently, and just to try to recognize yourself, be really self-aware, so that if you feel bad and need other people to feel better, still give them the space they need, because what they need to do is have room to feel. People need room to feel, and that's when healing happens. So just give people the space that they need, the best of your ability, and try not to take it personally if they push you away. It's not because they're mad at you or hate you, it's that they need their own space. And that's just a normal human life thing. Not everybody needs that. Some people really need lots of people around them all the time. Some people want to be by themselves to process, and they're completely comfortable in their own skin with their own emotions, kind of processing that way. They don't need somebody else to like push them or help them when they don't ask for help, you know? just be really self-aware, I guess, during the healing process for yourself and then for others too that are grieving around you. It's really hard though, I know, because you can feel really helpless when somebody you love is grieving. You can feel just so helpless, and whether it's grieving the loss of a loved one or a tragic event or a diagnosis, an illness diagnosis, or even like a major job loss or the end of a huge relationship like a divorce. I mean, those things can also all cause grief. And the similar reactions and responses to other people too, to try to need you to feel better so that they don't feel your pain, you know. That's an empath thing, which I've talked a lot about on Fairy Grasshopper channels. So hopefully you can watch some of those videos if you need more insight about empaths and handling the energy management piece and energy awareness piece. So I'm Bridget. It's nice to have you here. Thanks so much for sharing this beautiful afternoon with me in my backyard. I hope you're doing well. I hope that I've inspired your spirit, given you some insight at the very least today, given you some hope as well, and a healthy perspective on things. So thanks so much for watching. Have a good day.